Yeah. Can you see the screen? Is it visible? Uh, yeah, so this mantra is, uh, just a second. The mantra is not visible. Okay, I think I've set the screen on that thing. Let me just change it. Switch screen or window. Um, yeah, I think like this is okay. Now have a look if you can see the mantra in front of you on the screen. Yes, beautiful. So this is the Gayatri mantra that Sri Aurobindo gave. And this mantra says, Om Tat Savitur Varam Rupam Jyotihi Parasya Dhimahi Yannah Satyena Deepayet. So you also have the meaning in front of us. Let us meditate on the most auspicious form of light, which is Savitri, the Gayatri is the light of divine truth. It is the mantra of knowledge. So we can either use this mantra for invoking the mother or a silent chanting, whatever, We'll take 2 minutes and after that I'll begin. So let we can begin now. Yeah. Uh, so let us begin from a few lines before the last time that we read. We can go through over those lines and then we can see what to do further. Yeah, so I would like to just maintain a continuity. Let us slowly read from this once more. Let me just color it for you. So one person can read this and then the next one just keep on alternating between the turns. Yeah. So any one of you who wants to start?
I'll go, Monica.
Yes, please.
Once more, a tread perturbed the vacant vasts. Infinity's centre, a face of rapturous calm, parted the eternal lids that open heaven. A form from far beatitudes seemed too near.
Yeah, the next, maybe next person. Simi, Reggie, Taru.
I can go.
Yeah.
Ambassadress twixt eternity and change, the omniscient goddess leaned across the breadths that wrap the fated yearnings of the stars. and saw the spaces ready for her feet.
Yeah. Further.
Oh, I continue because it's in different color.
Yeah, it's maybe the next person can continue. Simiji, why don't you go ahead? Okay, in that
Can you
case,
hear me? Can you hear me, Monica, now?
yes, now I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. Once she half looked behind for her veiled son, then, thoughtful, went to her immortal work. Earth felt the imperishable passage close. The waking ear of nature heard her steps, and wideness turned to her its limitless eye, and scattered on sealed depths her luminous smile, kindled to fire the silence of the worlds.
Yeah, thank you. Reggie, could you go through the one more line? Reggie, could you go through that?
Sure. All grew a consecration and a rite.
Earth felt the imperishable passage close. Now, this is referring to how the message that comes from the dawn, from light in our lives, as if the nature is able to very clearly hear those steps of the light. Just like if you get up in the morning someday, dawn time or around that, we see that the beauty around the whole atmosphere, it seems that all the nature is responding to the call of the divine. It's responding to the call of the light, which is calling us for an adventure, for something beyond our mortal existence. So that is what it is referring to, that even earth, the nature, it was very, very open to receive the light, and wideness turned to her its limitless eye. So the wideness of the nature, all the beautiful nature in its full width, it was responding to the dawn, colors of the dawn. It was responding to the message of the dawn. The birds were up chirping, all the animals were getting up and responding to the light, and even the nature, the grains of sand, the beauty of the leaves in the morning, the dewdrops, all the nature was responding to the call of light, and scattered on sealed depths her luminous smile, the smile of dawn goddess, as if it was scattered on throughout the earth. Imagine that we have flowers, and we, before something auspicious is going to happen, we kind of scatter the flowers around. And sealed depths is referring to the sealed depths of the matter, the inconscient matter, which is not yet aware of the inner Godhead. Sealed depths, sealed from the light. So dark and so opaque that it does not realize the intensity of the light within. Kindled to fire the silence of the worlds. So that meaninglessness, that lifelessness, that soullessness that we earlier read in the first few lines, as if now an aspiration is beginning to emerge from that opaque silence. because of the light that dawns upon in our world, the colors of the dawn. And alongside the description of the dawn and the coming of Savitri, which we'll come to very soon, it's also a description of what happens in our individual journeys. This light of aspiration, when it gets fired within us, owing to some light that we have been seeking, and now there is a descent from the planes above, and that descent kind of answers the call. And if not for a long time, at least for a moment, when it's very kind of intensity, the message comes to us, the aspiration goes up and the message dawns upon, and the nature hears this response, it responds to the call. All grew a consecration and a rite. And Sri Aurobindo has said on these lines that it's not that I am just imagining that this happens. This is the reality. During the dawn time, all the nature is responding to the call of the divine, to the response of the divine. And that is why it has been said in our scriptures and many more places that dawn time is a beautiful time. Brahm Muhurat kaha jata hai usse. It's a beautiful time to connect with the quietude, with the silence, and with the light within, with the inner Godhead. All grew a consecration and a rite. Now a yagna, as if a yagna is going on. Ahutis are being put. My nature is offering herself to the divine call. Air was a vibrant link between earth and heaven. The wide-winged hymn of a great priestly wind arose and failed upon the altar hills. So this is the celebration of coming of the dawn. And it is said that the air represents the link between earth and heaven. And this is actually very beautiful when our individual life is concerned. Breath has been really given a lot of importance. Focus on breath, our attention on breath has been given a lot of attention, that it has the power to connect you to the inner Godhead. Swas, सांस हमारी, breath, has the power to connect. It is a connecting bridge between our material nature and the divinity within us. So the air that connects the earth and the heaven in physical planes is also the vibrant link between our own material nature, material existence, and the heaven which is present in all of us. And you will see for yourself, I'm sure some of you might have also observed, whenever our focus is on the breath, as much as possible, not all the time it's possible, you see that there is a different intensity, a different calm and peace that comes in the body. A stillness comes in the body. An unwavering, solid faith comes in the body if we can be with the breath. Kabir has said, श्वास श्वास में नाम ले और वृथा श्वास मत खोए, ना जाने इस श्वास का फिर आवन होए ना होए. And further, he says in a couple of dohas, तो श्वासों की कर सुमिरनी और करया जपा को जाप, परम तत्व हृदय धरो और सोहम आपो आप. तो माला है निज श्वास की. किसकी माला फेरनी है? कोई बाहर की कोई माला फेरने की जरूरत नहीं है. कबीर कह रहे हैं माला है निज श्वास की, और फेरेगा कोई दास, 84 भर में नहीं तो मिटे काल की फांस. तो कबीर कह रहे हैं कि अगर हम ये नहीं कर पाते हैं तो 84 लाख योनियों के बावजूद भी we will remain a mortal. We will not be able to get in touch with the immortality that we all are. तो सुमिरन किसका करना है? सुमिरन किसी नाम का भी हो सकता है, नाम के साथ श्वास श्वास का, एक एक पल का सुमिरन। श्वासों की कर सुमिरनी और करया जपा को जाप, परम तत्व हृदय धरो और सोहम आपो आप, एंड यू देन गेट टू नो द रियलाइजेशन that you are that, we all are that we seek. So I also related this air when I read these lines. Air was a vibrant link between earth and heaven, the wide winged hymn of a great priestly wind. So in the morning time, the wind has been considered a priest. It's doing the hymns and chantings. And as its voice rises, arose, and failed upon and fades away, the voice rises of the chant, and then it fades away on the hills of the altar. The high boughs of the trees, the branches of the trees, which are always going up and up and up, seeking something. The high boughs prayed in a revealing sky. Why revealing sky? Because now at this point of time, the sky is actually a page, as we read earlier. It is revealing as if a cryptic message that it wants us to read from the heavenly realms. Get up and read the message. Get up and read the colors that I want to show you. That is the message that the dawn goddess is trying to reveal to us. Yeah, so we can take a few lines here. Whoever would like to read, let me see. Yeah. Yes. Please go ahead. Yeah, anyone, are you there? Or am I? Are you there?
Yes, we are. Wait.
Okay.
Okay, I can go.
Go ahead.
Here, where our half-lit ignorance skirts the gulfs, on the dumb bosom of the ambiguous earth, here, where one knows not even the step in front, and the truth has her throne on the shadowy back of doubt. On this anguished and precarious field of toil, outspread beneath some large indifferent gaze, impartial witness of our joy and bale, our prostrate soil bore the awakening ray.
Yeah. So this is the description of earth, this is the description of our unconscious existence on earth. Here, where our half-lit ignorance skirts the gulfs of, the vast gulfs of space. Imagine in the space, the earth is rotating and rotating and rotating, skirts the gulfs, the depths of inconscience, and with our half-lit ignorance. What do you mean by half-lit ignorance? That the only idea that we get in our lives is, I don't know. This is actually a beautiful thing and a step further, because the ego keeps in its arrogance that I know, although it has no idea what is the purpose of life. And the moment the seeking begins, we have this half-lit ignorance which says, I don't know. I don't even know what I don't know, but I have this clue that I don't know something which I must know. This is half-lit ignorance, which skirts the gulfs on the dumb bosom of the ambiguous earth. Now, earth has no idea what is the purpose of its existence. Not knowing the true significance of the earth being there, Why was earth created? What was the reason of human beings being on the earth and the other creatures being on the earth? So ambiguous, not clearly knowing about itself, the purpose of itself. And truth, and here where one knows not even the step in front, we don't even know, and we claim to be all knower. The ego claims to be so intelligent. It does not even know what is going to happen in the next moment. And we make all the plans as if, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, this is what I want to do with my life. And we don't even know what is going to happen in the next very moment. Such helplessness, but such arrogance as well, that I know what to do. And truth has her throne on the shadowy back of doubt. Now imagine maybe a donkey, and on the donkey sits this truth, beautifully throned on the back of the donkey. Now this is how we slowly progress. We never know what is absolute truth. But how do we proceed in human existence? We doubt it, we experiment with it, and based on that experiment, we make a conclusion, and then we move one step further. Maybe we think, okay, in this moment, this is my truth. This is what I have experimented. This was the doubt. This was cleared. So, bit by bit, it's very shadowed. It's not all clear, it's hazy. We have no idea of what absolute truth is. Only by doubting, by experimenting, and then reaching a certain conclusion for a temporary phase, we go further and further. This is our human existence. On this anguished and precarious field of toil. Now, field of toil, we all know that all of us have to go through our own sufferings and the challenges in life. Lots of struggles in everybody's lives. Nobody knows exactly why the struggle is there, but we are struggling. But this is the very nature of earth's existence. Anguish, full of anguish, and precarious, uncertain. Although I will go through the struggle, but still I am not sure what is going to happen in the future. It's uncertain whether my actions will reap result or not. On this anguished and precarious field of toil, outspread beneath some large indifferent gaze, as if this sky or the space that exists, as if it's watching us. All of us go through our life journeys, but it's a very impartial witness. It's a very indifferent witness. It does not interfere much. And also referring to the witness Purusha within us. It watches the play, no matter how wrong I may go in my life. It would not say, out loud assert himself. It would watch impartially because it knows how important it is for all of us to go through our life experiences. Each life experience has a very potent learning capacity hidden within it. No matter how ugly it may seem on the surface. Impartial witness of our joy and bale. कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता उसको whether it's a very beautiful big joy for us, it's a celebration for us. Equanimity, it's totally indifferent and equanimous. Our prostrate soil bore the awakening ray. Now this light that has now come upon earth, the answer from the divinity of the aspiration within the human being. The prostrate soil, as if the soil is prostrating and bearing that light, that ray for its sprouting. Imagine how a seed goes into the soil and the soil bears the seed within itself and awaits for the right moment when it will be sprouting. All in a kind of a consecrated way. Our prostrate soil, a part of nature, bore the awakening ray. So some part of that light that we have in our lives from time to time, it leaves a seed within all of us. We may not be even aware of the seed. Our body is formed of matter. It's formed of these 5 elements. And it goes back to the 5 elements again. It mixes in the mud that you touch now through your feet. Maybe it contains so many dead bodies we don't even know. So this very soil of the bodily existence, it is bearing that light of truth, not maybe fully aware, but it's bearing it for the right time to come, and then it's sprouting out. So this is the description that Sri Aurobindo shares with us of earthly human existence, how it is. I would color it for the next person to go. Yes, please go ahead.
I'll go, Monica.
Yes.
Here too, the vision and prophetic gleam lit into miracles, common, meaningless shapes. Then the divine afflatus spent withdrew, unwanted, fading from the mortal's range.
Thank you. Yeah. So again, description of the earth continues. Here too, the vision and the prophetic gleam. Now this, the gleam of the dawn that comes in our lives. Just like in the morning, early morning times, the beautiful colors, even a grain of sand shines so iridescently in that the aura of the dawn, that a meaningless piece of sand, which so far for us it has no meaning, it shines beautifully in that aura of the dawn goddess. Just like that, all of you, I would like to invoke you to consciously have a look in our lives. Whenever we have been touched by light, truth, pure love in our lives, even the most meaningless that has been until that point a meaningless thing, it turns into something more than meaningless. It turns into something more miraculous. The same thing, nothing changed. Just because of the presence of that light and that purity, even the most mundane stuff appears like a miracle. So that is what is referred to lit into miracles, common meaningless shapes. A grain of sand early in the morning, a dewdrop early in the morning, while in the common daytime, we will not even have a look at it. Just because of this purity of that time, and also the purity of those moments in our lives where we have an absolute touch with the light within. There in that moment, everything appears truly significant, nothing appears meaningless. Because then we feel this oneness with the existence, owing to that purity that has dawned upon. Then the divine afflatus, the divine impulse, the divine inspiration that came as the form of dawn goddess, spent, withdrew, unwanted, fading from the mortal's range. Now there is not a very suitable response to this light that shines in form of dawn or in form of these little gleams of light, phases of, full of love and light in our life, where we feel this intimacy with this oneness with the existence. So what happens? We have this one moment where we feel really beautiful oneness with the existence, and we there is no separation, there is no duality in that moment. But our being is not yet capable of being in that state all the time. The pull of inconscience is too great. We need an urge to go back to my routines of life, a strong pull from that routine. All the relationships, no matter how meaningless they may be, they appear so important. So we are not yet able to respond to that light that shines in that moment for us. It gives us a signal that there is a higher possibility that is there, but then it kind of withdraws away. It's kind of spent. The inspiration is as if I have revealed myself, and now because you're not responding, I'll come again. I'm going now. So then the divine afflatus spent, withdrew, unwanted. We read earlier lines, if you remember, as if an orphaned, it feels like an orphaned person, an orphaned child wanting to be accepted in this world full of inconscience. That is the response we human beings give to light in our life, to truth in our life. So when it is unwanted, it feels that the humanity is not yet ready to receive me. It fades away from the mortal range. It is still there. It's not that it is not there, but from the mortal vision, it disappears. The kind of beauty it was able to communicate in the dawn time, that vibrant beauty now disappears because of the lack of response from us, the humanity, from the earth. Yeah. Yes, maybe the next person can go ahead.
Should I read it, Monica?
Yes.
A sacred yearning lingered in its trace, the worship of a presence and a power, too perfect to be held by death-bound hearts, the prescience of a marvelous birth to come.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. So, yeah. A sacred yearning lingered in its trace. Now, the 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 beauty, the effect of that immortal light that's shone through as dawn goddess, it is now gone. It is fading away. And instead of it, there is a yearning that lingered in its trace. Why a yearning? Because we all can sense that there was something really beautiful and powerful about that, very attractive about that. Although my being is not completely ready to follow it, but we sense that beauty and light and truth in that moment. All of us sense it, no matter how dumb we may appear in our mortal existence. And also the nature also, as if it's yearning for the dawn to come back again, for the beauty to come back again. And what is remaining as an after effect of it? The worship of a presence and a power. So because something in me recognizes that there was something powerful, there was something really strong and intense about that call that just came as dawn. Now I begin to worship it. It becomes an ideal. That instant that I touched in my life in 2002, for example, That is my cornerstone. That is where I want to be. There was something in that moment that I touched, which I know is my higher possibility. The worship of a presence and a power too perfect to be held by death-bound hearts. It's too perfect. We feel that we are not worthy enough of fully embodying it. I may have a very beautiful moment in one, for example, one day in meditation, but I feel that okay, वो होगा कहीं होगा तो meditation वाला moment, but I must go about my daily chores. Those are so important. And it's not that the daily chores are not important, it's the state of being. The state of being I am in when I am doing those chores in my life. Only the state of being. And when I am in meditation on or something in my life touches my inmost being like that, that state I am unable to maintain when I am doing the homely chores. So something in me yearns, why can't this manifestation be complete? Why can't I live in that beauty all the time? Something in me yearns for that. Death bound hearts. Me living in my mortal existence. Me attached to the body all the time. Me feeding the body all the time. I cannot give much attention to that inmost thing that kind of shone in front of me in that moment. As if I'm incapable at the moment. The prescience of a marvelous birth to come, but somewhere there is a knowing. There, prescience means a foreknowing. Some part of me knows that this is a possibility, and this can be my new birth. The prescience of a marvelous birth to come. This will come. I don't know when, but it will come. It must come because I am yearning for that. Yeah. So instead of that dawn, which is now fading away, now I have this worship and yearning for that presence and power that I experienced. Yes, maybe the next person can go. Taru, Reggie.
Only a little the God light can stay. Spiritual beauty, illumining human sight, lines with its passion and mystery matter's mask, and squanders eternity on a beat of time.
Yeah, beautiful. So what happens? Because the readiness of my nature is not there. My nature is completely not ready. It's not a nature where I know each and every movement and I have mastered each and every movement of my being so that I can allow that God light to stay. It is not like that. I'm still in a process, right? So only a little the God light can stay. The God light does not stay then. For example, imagine those moments where you are wanting to discuss something with a friend, right? And although you feel that you can share something which will help the situation, maybe, coming from inmost space in your heart, but the friend seems not ready to take your suggestion or the talk or discussion. What do we do? No, we don't say that word because we feel that the friend is not yet ready. It's okay. We don't have to blabber it out. So my nature is not yet ready so that the God light stays continuously with me all the time. The nature is not allowing it. I have to work more on my nature. There has to be surrender in each cell and each grain of the being so that the God light comes and stays for more time. Spiritual beauty illumining human sight, lines with its passion and mystery, matter's mass. Now at this, there is this image of a cloud, how the sunlight, when it is hiding behind a cloud, how it shines through that cloud, and we have this silver lining around the cloud. So although the nature is very dark, although the matter is very dark and opaque, for a moment it felt that like a silver lining, the borders were visible, as if I was shown something which is possible in my highest possibility, you know. So instead of being the inconscience being there, instead of being a lot of tamas being there in my nature, I was shown this illumining, it illumined my human sight. Even the normal vision that I have, for a moment the meaningless shapes became meaningful. Only for a moment. For a moment, when I feel so much of duality, so much of separation in my existence, I was able to taste that oneness with the existence. Only for a moment. And squanders eternity on a beat of time. How beautiful, look at the paradox. Eternity on a beat of time. Now time is limited, and as if the eternity, which is limitless, timeless, that is being wasted on a beat of time. Why wasted? Because the human being does not yet realize the importance of it. The beauty has been squandered on a beat of time. In a few hours, you have been revealed. We have been revealed the whole possibilities that exist for us as a human being, but as if it was wasted because we don't pay a heed to it. We keep on feeling that I am not worthy of this higher possibility. This is how it is wasted. Kabir also uses this, paradox so many times. For example, this limited being that we are, look at your body, it's a limited body. We have this borders. We feel that we have this border. I end where my body ends. That is what the feeling that we have. And the other person begins where his or her body begins. And this is the paradox, that we are beyond, we are hiding immortality in this mortal body. We are hiding timelessness in this timed body. We are hiding, so much of light in the dark body. This is the paradox. We are hiding limitlessness within limits. Isn't that beautiful, limitlessness within limits. And wherever there is paradox, there hides a truth, a very potent truth, wanting it to be revealed. So we must at times, give attention to this paradox. Limitlessness within our own being. Limited being. So the more focus I give to my limits, I become my limits. The more focus I give to my limitlessness, how would I behave in this moment if I am limitless? That is what I become. I choose. Each moment I choose. So let's take a pause here, a minute of a pause, and in the meantime, if you have anything, you can ask. Okay. So, yeah, let's go ahead then. Taru, would you like to read?
Yeah, from the message, right?
From here. As when a soul draws.
Okay.
Is it visible, the screen?
Um, 1 second. I think Aradhana ji had sent a screenshot that was more visible. Okay. So, as when a soul draws near the sill of birth, adjoining mortal time to timelessness, a spark of deities lost in matter's script, its luster vanishes in the inconscient planes.
Yeah.
Uh, should I go on?
Yes, yes. The two more lines.
That transitory glow of magic fire, so now dissolved in bright, accustomed air.
Thank you. Yeah. As when a soul draws near the sill of birth, the threshold of the mortal existence. So imagine, visualize the soul coming from the subtle realms now into a mortal existence, right? So as if it's crossing that threshold, where it is going now into the inconscience. The soul, which is full of divine light, is now going into the darkness. It's choosing the darkness as an adventure, as Sri Aurobindo and Mother have stated. This is the adventure we consciously have plunged ourselves into. It's not an unconscious adventure. That's a different thing that we have really a bit of a struggle regaining that consciousness. So this soul now draws near the sill of birth. Imagine that I am looking down upon, say, from a fifth floor, sixth floor. I'm looking down. Now I'm ready to plunge into this another existence of human beings, being a human being, adjoining mortal time to timelessness. Now the soul is timeless. The soul is untouched, eternal, and it is now jumping into mortal time. So this threshold is as if it's a join, it's a kind of a dehleej kehte hain na usse, the threshold that I am now going to cross over. And what happens in this crossover, which has been said so many times by our saints all the time, a spark of deity lost in matter's script. So the cryptic matter, which is hiding something in itself owing to its inconscience, it's hiding, it's dark, it's not completely transparent that it will show what is the reality behind itself. The spark of deity, the soul, the magic of the soul is lost somewhere, hiding in that matter that we are, hiding in the five elements. We forget that this is also one reality that I have, my timelessness, my limitlessness. So that spark of deity now gets lost in matter's script. Also referring to the dawn here. Its luster vanishes in the inconscient planes. Now, when the soul dawns upon, when the soul comes in the human existence, it's hard to recognize. Look at the people around you. How many people would you say they have a soul? Most of us appear so dumb and ignorant of our own existence. Do we actually realize who we are? We have lost this sense of connection with our true being. And it's not that all of us are not worthy. All of us are worthy. All of us have a shine. But we need to be conscious of that shine. We have to shed off the dust from us, which is hiding the shine, the luster of that spark within us. And this is what is called becoming conscious of ourselves, becoming, knowing my movements, not becoming a robot like mechanical stuff, robot walking on mortal existence on earth. Its luster vanishes in the inconscient planes. That transitory glow of magic fire. No, it's a fire which is magical. But it's only a very transitory glow. The soul's coming down to the earthly realm. No, it's very transitory. And in fact, when we look at children, little children, infants, that glow is very much visible in children. That is why all of us, most of us, if not all, have a very strong inkling, a liking. We don't even know, why am I liking this child? They just call us. Why do they call us? The shine is there, the innocence is there, the connection with the psychic is very strong in children, at least up to the age of 4, 5, or maybe even more if it is preserved. And slowly, out of our own ignorance, we as parents break that connection, pulling even the children in the normal rut of life. Look at the how full of wonder children are, full of wonder. Just like we were reading earlier, even the meaningless shapes have meaning. For children, nothing is meaningless. Each twig, each leaf, each insect is meaningful for a child. It's for us, something running somewhere is so important, but looking at a twig becomes meaningless. So that glow of magic fire, which we all are composed of, now dissolved in bright, accustomed air. Accustomed, we are used to it. ऐसा ही तो होता है जिंदगी में. We don't even give attention. क्यों ऐसा होता है? Why can't be some other way? So that wonder, that innocence, that beauty of the existence gets dissolved in the bright, accustomed air. Now, what is happening? Now the day is going to emerge, common light of the day, which is full of our earthly routines. The beauty has gone away. The beauty says, oh, nobody wants me, I will come back again. Maybe you are not ready yet. The message ceased and waned the messenger. The message of beauty from the heavenly realms. The hieroglyphs, the cryptic language that it was using to tell us of some higher possibility that awaits us. The message has now ceased. The sky is all bright. No multicolored hues are visible now. And waned the messenger. The message has faded away. This is what happens in our light when I have a moment of, if I can say, an awakening in my life. Actually, one has to preserve it. Otherwise, it gets lost in the accustomed life that we live. I have to preserve with care the moment that I was shown that, yes, a higher possibility exists for you right there in this life. I have to become worthy of it so that I can embody it. I can manifest it in as many moments as possible in my life. Otherwise, it gets dissolved in the accustomed air. It also becomes a part of my CV. I had this experience in 2011, for example. Done, part of my CV. All has become meaningless again. Yeah. So Aradhana ji is asking how to preserve this moment, where we have been shown this light in our life. I would like all of you to share how to preserve this moment. How to let it become life for us and not just a thing on the CV. First of all, I must ask this question. Do I actually want to preserve it? Or does it not matter? I think that question is very important. Is it important for me? Is it important for me to preserve that moment of light which I have been shown as a higher possibility? If it is not important for me, none can save me on this earth. None. None. Nobody can save me. And if I have an inclination that yes, it is very important for me, that moment of light, it may have been just one moment in 2000 moments of my life, but I know the intensity. I know why it was so important. If I have that intensity, then no one can stop me from preserving it, from making it my own life. So the first thing is to ask the question, do I really want to preserve? Being honest with ourselves. No problem, Simi. Because many a times, we are not ready. We say that, no, I don't want to preserve it. It may have come and now it's gone. I don't bother about that much. And I have so many other things going on in my life. I don't want to preserve that. I don't want to embody it in my life. It's okay. The kind of life I am living is okay. Okay life. It's a decent life. I don't want it. I cannot have that intensity in my life. So this is the question, asking ourselves whether we want it. And if you will see, all of us will see that if we actually want it, you will not be able to stop yourself from manifesting it in your life. And if some part of you is not yet ready, if some part of me is not yet completely ready for the light, then it will obviously take more time. Right? So eternity has a lot of time. We can take 10,000 human births. Eternity has a lot of time. We human beings have no time. We are hard pressed on time, and that is why the importance given to human birth in our scriptures. That it's you are getting this birth after so many other, after being a stone, after being a plant, after being an animal, after being a dinosaur. Now have you got this human birth where human beings are the ones who can think about themselves, who can look at themselves, their own movements. A dog cannot look at its own movements. It cannot transform itself. Human beings can, owing to this power of self-observation. And even if I now decide, knowing all that I don't want to have light in my life, it's up to me. Right? So, moving ahead, just leaving you at that question, whether I want to preserve it, whether it is important for me. So I'll just take a few more lines and then we can see if we want to take a few questions or whatever. Shreya, would you like to read now that you are here?
Yes, sure. The message ceased and waned the messenger. The single call, the unaccompanied power, drew back into some far off secret world the hue and marvel of this supernal being. She looked no more on our mortality.
Yeah, thank you. So what is happening? Now the dawn goddess is disappearing from the scene. The message ceased and waned the messenger, because the messenger was not received well. The earth was not yet completely ready. The single call, the uncompanioned power. Now this is referring to Advait. Advait, वो जिसका कोई दूजा नहीं है. तो अब एक भी नहीं कह सकते उसको, क्योंकि जैसे ही हम बोलेंगे वो एक, इसका मतलब एक के बाद क्या आया, दो. And that is the whole thing where the non-duality kind of stems from, Advait. वो जिसका कोई दूजा नहीं है. Everything merges there and everything emerges from there. That call had come. The single call. सिर्फ एक ही कॉल है जो आती है हमें. देखो, बिलियंस ऑफ जिलियंस ऑफ ह्यूमन बीइंग्स, और कॉल किसकी आती है, सिर्फ उस एक की, और कुछ है ही नहीं. कॉल करेगा कौन? उसके अलावा जब कुछ है ही नहीं तो कॉल और कहां से आएगी? द सिंगल कॉल, uncompanioned power, no other companion of that power. That alone is, in capitals, is, is, that alone is. And if we meditate on this for a few moments, that alone is, then where is the fear? Where is the anxiety? Who is going to lose? Who is going to gain? खुद कूजा गर, खुद गिले कूजा. If you remember these lines, a Pakistani song, I remember, also from coming out of Kabir. खुद ही है वो क्ले, खुद ही बनाने वाला, और खुद ही वो उसका खिलौना भी. तो कुछ और है ही नहीं उसके अलावा. Uncompanioned power. Now this power, as if it manifested itself in its full beauty for a few moments in time, but then drew back into some far off secret world. Because the humanity, the ego, is not yet ready to surrender. It's a free existence each moment. This was the prerequisite of when the creation happened. It was a free creation. And that was the reason why the powers that emanated from the one who is only there, the consciousness, truth, bliss, and life, because of the freedom, they were able to dissociate from the divine essence. They haven't dissociated, but they felt as if they are independent. So consciousness became unconsciousness. Bliss became suffering, not knowing that it can still get in touch with the divine essence. Life became death. Truth became falsehood. The biggest falsehood that we live in is the ego, the falsehood of ego. The ego does not even exist, but it shows with such a strong identity that it exists, and we believe in it, and we live a whole life in the ego. That is the supremacy of falsehood. So owing to the ego, the nature not being ready for the light, the call, the power drew back into some far off secret world. This is the world that all of us want to touch. The hue and marvel of the supernal beam, that beam that came from the Supreme, the marvel and beauty that it showed. The dawn goddess, she looked no more on our mortality. तो अभी क्या हुआ था, स्टार्टिंग में we had a few scenes where as if it is the dawn goddess is leaning upon the breadths of the earth, looking down upon the mortal existence. And now, because it was not received properly, it says, okay, time to go. How long can you talk to a friend who is not ready to listen to you? You say, okay, I will come back again when he's ready. The excess of beauty natural to Godkind could not uphold its claim on time-born eyes. Beautiful. Excess of beauty, too much beauty. We are not able to take it. I don't feel worthy of that beauty. which is too natural to God kind. Now, coming from the God planes of gods, it is very natural for them to have this beauty, the beauty of the dawn goddess, the beauty at the time of dawn. Even no matter how many photos we may take of sunrise and sunset, the beauty is indescribable. But it had to go, it had to wane, because it was not able to uphold its claim. Our human mortal eyes do not have the capacity to appreciate, to value, to give importance to that beauty. हमारे लिए क्या important है? हमारे लिए important है मेरी job, मेरे रिश्ते नाते, मेरा रेगुलर काम चलना चाहिए, मेरा खाना पीना, मेरे functions attend करने. This gives us more joy. So why would the God light stay? And that is the reason why it was not able to uphold its claim on the time born eyes. Eyes which only run after time, run in time, are only concerned with things in time, jobs, relationships, all things of the material planes. Now, it's not to say that they have no importance, not at all. It's just that they are meaningless if they are not connected with the divine essence consciously. Conscious की जरूरत है. अंदर अंदर से तो सब कुछ connected ही है, कुछ भी टूटा नहीं है, कुछ भी जोड़ना नहीं है. Everything is connected. But we have to be conscious of the presence of the divinity in each and every relationship, in each and every existence, in each and every animal and presence on this earth. Only then I can do justice to the divinity, a bit of justice. Or then I choose to live in meaninglessness. That is also a choice. Too mystic real for space tenancy. This as if, the imagery is such, the dawn goddess or the light from the divine, the immortal light. It is too mystic. It is too mystical. It cannot it cannot be a tenant in the space that we mortal beings uh, inhabit. It is too much of a beauty. So what it does, it hides away in the cloak of ignorance. And this is how, when we mature as a human being, when we get ripe as a human being, only slowly हमारी आंखों के सामने से पर्दा हटना शुरू होता है. Why slowly? Because we are not yet ready for it. We are not yet ready for the full dawning upon of the light. And the moment I become a seeker, the moment I have more intense a longing, then I see that my calls are answered. Why? Because now I am feeling ready for it. So if we have a question in our lives, why the light is not coming in my life, it's a very simple answer. I am not yet ready for it. Now we have to look at our honesties and insincerities, dishonesties, What am I still wanting to hold? What is the obstacle of me, of my life, Why am I not letting light in? And you would be getting aware of some manipulative agenda in life. This is how we become conscious of our movements. कुछ ना कुछ manipulation पकड़ के रखी होगी. So the light says, okay, I will come later, right? So it is too mystic for the space, for being a tenant in the space that we inhabit as human beings. Just taking the last two lines. Her body of glory was expunged from heaven, wiped out. Imagine the sky. No more colors of dawn are visible now. All gone. The body of glory was expunged from heaven, just wiped away from that page which was the sky. The rarity and wonder lived no more. Now, before it depresses all of us, I would like to say that, it's just hiding. It's hiding because we ourselves are not yet ready for a complete manifestation of the light. In a moment I become more ready, it appears in front of me. That is how it is. It's not gone anywhere. So, bit by bit, step by step, as I'm getting prepared to receive more light, as I'm becoming more worthy, पात्रता, हिंदी में कहते हैं ना पात्रता, जैसे जैसे मेरी में पात्रता आएगी to have that light in my life, no one can stop me because it is my birthright. To have this light in my life is a birthright for each and every human being on this earth. We just have to become ready in steps, baby steps. There was the common light of earthly day. And this is, in the beginning, Taru was asking, about this. And this is what happens when the sunrise happens. All the beauty of the multi-hued colors is gone. Now it's the common light. We all know about that light. The ego very well knows what is to be done in that light. All the chores, all the running around, all the, finances, all of that. That is the common light in which the beauty is obscured from our eyes. क्या करते हैं हम common light में? We do all the stuff which is necessary for our mortal existence, right? And there the beauty now hides in that common light of earthly day. But it will come again. We don't have to worry. Those of us who seek light will be shown light. Yeah. So anything from today? Oh God. Okay. Uh, You're scaring me, Aradhana ji. I have not sang in a long time. Like 4-5 months I have not been singing.